Fall is all about cozy comforts, but when you're prioritizing your health, it's easy to feel like you're missing out. With Hero Bread, you can enjoy all your fall favorites because they're made with Hero Bread sliced bread loaves, tortillas, bagels, dinner rolls, and more. Try their all-new Hero Noodles with 12 grams of protein and just 80 calories. So skip replacing every carb with cauliflower and indulge in your breakfast, lunch, and dinner time favorites while still hitting your goals. From breakfast bagels and meal prepped enchiladas to mouth-watering burgers and cheesy noodles. You won't believe Hero Bread's options have 0 to 5 grams net carbs and are high fiber from the taste and texture. They've even got small batch drops of indulgent favorites like the popular Hero Croissant. And right now, Hero Bread is offering 10% off your order. Go to hero.co and use code FALL25 at checkout. That's fall25 at hero.co. All figures are per serving of Hero Bread. Contains 2 to 18 grams of fat per serving. See the product nutrition panels on hero.co for more information.
Hello and welcome from me. I'm over on the West Coast. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I'm like the game finished about 40 minutes ago, and I'm still buzzing off Marcus Rashford. Amazingly, I mean, I know this is the most obvious and cliched thing to say about that game, but it's true. It felt like Man United.
We're back.
We are.
Not only, I said last week, I think we might be good.
Yeah.
Not only we might be good, but I think we got some of that old United last-minute winning thingy back too.
It was so deserved, that goal.
Oh, totally. I mean, United were obviously completely dominant for the whole game. Just too slow and too narrow for about an hour. Mm-hmm. And Rashford, a little bit Mkhitaryan, but particularly Rashford coming on, just gave the game so much more intensity. And the amount of chances United created. I mean, you just imagine, contrast that with last season, what would have happened? Sidewards, backwards, slow. The pattern of the first 60 minutes would have been repeated for the whole game. And we'd have probably lost 1-0. And as it was, United knocked on the door again and again and again. They were positive. They threw more and more men forward and got everything they deserved out of the game.
Yeah, friend of the show at Blabberone at half-time tweeted at, I can't remember which journalist it was. One journalist said this all feels a bit like LVG. He was like, United had 8 attempts in that half. Van Gaal averaged 7 attempts per game away from home. So, as many attempts as a Van Gaal side would have had all game. And that was when it wasn't really going that well. It was, as you say, the last hour. And I think actually from the start of the second half, things had a different texture. Pogba looked a bit more focused. There was some nice link-up play with Ibrahimovic early on. But I think that the Mkhitaryan factor was pretty massive, and there was that run where he broke out of midfield and kind of like straight up the centre of the pitch, earned a free kick right on the edge of the area. Right,
and no one had done that. I mean, actually, Mata had a good game up to the point he was taken off. I thought. I mean, he's constantly involved in play, but what he doesn't have is that kind of dynamism, does he? Mm-hmm. Mkhitaryan is going to get the ball and run at players, and interesting. I thought that. United. United's shape was not clear after the 2 substitutions, right? I mean, basically, Rooney moved out to the left. Rashford was sort of central, and Mkhitaryan was coming in off the right. But
they were all so fluid.
It was reasonably fluid, yeah. But it was kind of interesting that Rooney ended up getting relegated. Which was the right thing to do, of course, just from the game point of view, to have that kind of speed through the middle, since United were so narrow for almost all of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't even really bear repeating. I would have obviously, I was kind of screaming for Rooney to come off when he took off Martial and Mata. But actually, I don't think I could really argue against either of those coming off on its own merits. But I just thought there was a better candidate, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Martial had another very quiet game. I mean, we talked about this last week. He's starting his starting position is 15 yards deeper than last season, and it's causing him a real problem because instead of one player to beat, he's got three. So it's difficult for him. He's struggling to adjust for the moment, and there's other stuff going on in his personal life and the Euros and stuff like that. So no real concerns there. But I think it's easy to explain why he's not started the game great. Mata, I don't think was that bad, but the game needed pace,
exactly,
right?
Yeah.
So he was an obvious candidate to take off from that point of view. Not that he was having a bad game, but needed to inject some pace. Then again, of course, there were other candidates who were a bit slow, both of mind and body, who could have gone as well.
Although in the end, they made an absolutely telling difference to the game, which is the Rooney conundrum, isn't it? Because he rarely, even in his worst periods, has he gone that long without some significant end product.
That's right, but the pattern is most of the time he plays badly, and it feels like he's been crowbarred into the side, and then sometimes he comes up with those moments. Those moments that there weren't too many today, but those moments that remind you that Rooney is Rooney, and he did brilliantly for the goal. I think his opponent was obviously absolutely knackered, Mela, but superb to get around the player and pick out the right man. Great moment, helped win United the game. The better argument, though, because of course that is an argument. The much better argument is United wouldn't have needed that if the shape and the personnel had been right in the first place. And I know #agenda and all of that bollocks, but it's not. He's just the wrong guy in the team, and he's been crowbarred in for the moment. And I was over here with a few United fans debating about why exactly. Is it he's just been given enough rope to fail? Or is it that Jose sees something we don't? Or is it that Jose is just blinded by the stardom as was Moyes and Van Gaal?
Or is he just managing the politics, which is what I think is the real thing? Because, we talk about it in quite strong terms sometimes. And This conversation is really boring, so I don't really want to have it anymore, particularly, because it is just, I've got nothing new to say. In fact, never mind. Let's move on to a different player in the team. You mentioned Martial starting 15 yards deeper than he was last season, but of course, very often last season he played on the left of a 4-2-3-1. But do you think he was more advanced in that role? He started on the left more than he started through the middle last season.
Yeah. Yes, I think he was more advanced. I think he was starting as an attacking player, and really now he has some defensive responsibility. Not only that, but because the fullbacks are being pushed forward so much this season, much more than they were last season, he also has that responsibility to cover when they do go. And it's very noticeable, actually, that only one fullback goes at any one time. So the winger that's with the fullback has responsibility both to cover if there's a transition in play, but allows the winger on the other side to come in. And it has some benefits because United's defence and midfield and attack are all much more joined up than they were last season. The downside is that United are very narrow at the moment, and the width is only really coming from the fullbacks.
Although Valencia got into a lot of very good positions a lot of the time, and in some ways, actually, this game was there were a lot of really massive positives to this game. The biggest one being that we won. That seems so obvious, but I mean, could this have been any more a game that we wouldn't have won under Van Gaal? Just it had that. I mean, I said that about Bournemouth even, and Southampton to an extent, but this game even more so. But we did win, and that is absolutely massive. And we won because we never stopped trying, and because we kept trying, playing direct, very high level attacking football, not knocking it long, but trying to work positions. Exactly what Fergie always said. There's a couple of small downsides about this game. I thought Valencia kind of regressed in an attacking sense back to a slightly more recognisable version of himself. He was still full of running and still kind of prepared to take on his man at fullback and stuff, but his crossing was just off today. But I actually thought Fellaini was a little bit more of a regression. It was a bit more like, especially in the first half, that was very Fellaini-esque.
I guess so, yeah. I mean, I was almost about to praise Fellaini for his performance today because it's composed and neat and tidy in midfield. The thing is...
Apart from when he's slide tackling people on his knees.
No, I know. For the most part, he was all right. I think he was obviously under zero pressure defensively. Hull had almost nothing to offer going forward. Didn't try to. Very rare occasions they broke out, a couple of set pieces and whatever. So not under a lot of pressure. But I actually, I think Fellaini's role, it's worse than him just not being a great player. I think the problem there is it's adjusting the whole balance of United's sort of midfield part. And we saw that a lot in the first sort of half particularly, but, maybe the first hour or so. So the role of Fellaini, Rooney and Pogba, there's a problem with a lot of it, right? Fellaini is not natural in that position. That means Pogba is sitting maybe 10 yards deeper than he really needs to. There are a couple of occasions he ran ahead of the ball, but not very often. So you're just limiting what you can extract out of, a great player. And with Rooney, obviously, Rooney and Pogba would like to be in the same zone. They're not at the moment. But when he gets the ball, Rooney, it slows down United's attack or breaks down completely. So you got that little triangle to solve. Now, that sounds negative. Actually, another way of thinking about that is that, Pogba's significantly strengthened United's midfield and has allowed Fellaini to come into the side and just play a reasonably disciplined role. And Jose has managed to get more out of Fellaini than anyone else has at United. But you could solve it. If United had a really great defensive midfielder, which we don't in the squad at the moment, and a real number 10, I think we'd see quite a different balance through the middle. But that's tweaking around the edges to get the most out of the team. For the most part today, I agree with your assessment that, especially in the last 30 minutes, this was relentless attacking from United and very, very good. Just a bit slow and a bit narrow leading up to that. But this is the team bedding in, I guess.
Someone made a fantastic point to me, and I'm really sorry I can't remember who it was. But there's been a lot of talk about Rashford because he got left out of the England squad, and obviously hasn't had any game time before today. And someone made the point to me that the two games that have happened so far, we haven't needed to change the game. Like, United have been playing their game and it's been working in both of those occasions. So, there was no need to bring Rashford on as a kind of impact sub. The only need would have been rotation, give him minutes and all that kind of stuff. But in this game, Mourinho needed to change the game and he did turn to Rashford. And not like in the last 5 minutes or anything. He had a very substantial run in that game and that made a massive difference. And, so Allardyce dropped Rashford, and in his press conference before he'd announced the England squad, or in an interview, I'm not sure which, Allardyce said something along the lines of, it makes it very difficult for me, however exciting it was at the end of last season, that he isn't playing so far this season.
2 games.
Yeah. I thought it was... And some of the journalists picked up on this like gospel and were kind of, when he was left out, said he's paying the price for Mourinho and Ibrahimovic's presence. And you just think... No, he's not. He's paying the price for... By the way, I don't think it's completely unreasonable for Allardyce to say, I don't want to bring Rashford into... He's not going to play... He's not going to be in the first 11 and I'm going to look at other options. That's perfectly fine. But what if he'd had a knock for 2 games? Would Allardyce have gone, now he's fully fit? Would Allardyce have said, I'm not going to take him? What if he'd been suspended?
Well, it's just nonsense. And it's, I'm afraid, the blinkered thinking that Allardyce has. We're going to get onto maybe a little chat about the international football, I suppose. But I think we'll find that Allardyce will end up picking quite a few players, England players, who are not necessarily first choices in their teams.
Yeah, and the other point of that argument that I found so frustrating is, England have got some good strikers. Harry Kane, I think, is an excellent player. Good questions about his form or whatever. And Jamie Vardy does what Jamie Vardy does, and he does do it well. And I think Sturridge on form, although he's not looking too good at the moment, obviously has been an excellent striker at his best. But Not one of those players could touch Zlatan Ibrahimovic with a barge pole in terms of quality. So, like, if Ibrahimovic is keeping you out of the team, that doesn't automatically mean you shouldn't be playing for England.
Joe Hart appears to be in the England squad.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's such... I mean, and, you know, there's a counter-argument to that which says, well, Joe Hart is an established international, so there isn't that kind of risk. But, you know, like Allardyce said... it'll be Rashford can kind of work hard in the under-21s and break into the Manchester United team and the England senior team. I just want to turn around and go, he's massively broken into the Manchester United senior team. He was like man of the match until he got injured in the FA Cup final. He looked the best player in the England squad in Euro 2016. You know, anyway, that's kind of nonsense argument, but it was so good. I wrote a thing for Bleach Report in the week about the best teenagers to have played for United since the year 2000, and I had Rashford on the list. And when I was writing about it, I was feeling a bit sad that he hasn't played yet this season because it was so exciting last season. But, I mean, he didn't look like he was trying too hard or any of the things you might expect given the kind of pressure on him and the narrative around him. But he was just brilliant when he came on today.
Yeah, so when England are playing with Adam Lallana and Daniel Sturridge up front, and Marcus Rashford is dancing around 6 players for the under-21s. Yeah, great. No, it's a total nonsense of a decision, but, well, you know, I guess... Marcus will enjoy playing in front of 2,000 people for the under-21s. Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's good from our perspective that he gets the time in his legs and stuff, and that's all good. But what did you make of his performance today?
Well, I thought first it was interesting that he wasn't necessarily tied down to any one position.
Yeah.
He sort of played left and through the centre, but not up front. I thought he was very direct when he got the ball. He wanted to run at players more than once. He did that. Very, very cute move, wasn't it? Just before he scored to flick the ball over the defender, find Luke Shaw, who squared it for Pogba to shoot just wide. So I thought he was very bright, very direct, looked confident. Didn't look like a man who's been ousted and is, on the fringes of the squad and been dropped by his manager, did he? So I thought it was all positive. It does leave a question, of course. Is he going to get into the United side, and in what position? Is he essentially sort of a utility forward this season for Mourinho? Will he get a lot more games in, say, the Europa League and the FA Cup and the League Cup and that kind of thing? And the same question can be asked for Mkhitaryan as well. There's obviously a more obvious route into the side for Mkhitaryan because Jose, we are presuming, hasn't done yet, will more readily drop Mata than Rooney. But Rashford's got a bit more of a problem. But the two of them are knocking on the door hard now and saying, hey, I kind of deserve a game.
Yeah, and I think... So the next game is the derby, which slightly changes the thinking. And we'll see what happens in the international break. And we're going to do a show and preview the derby. But I think it's Martial that would be dropped for Rashford. I think you could definitely see that happening, given his kind of stuttering start to the season. But of course, as you've said, that's then quite a demanding role for Rashford to be playing if he's expected to do that defensive work and stuff. Yeah,
I don't think there's any question around his attitude to doing that. He'll certainly do it, not necessarily his natural game, but he played plenty of games at reserve and academy level in wide areas, so I think he'll be fine there. You do want to see him in forward positions, but right now there's... a very good striker up there, isn't there? So United have an embarrassment of riches in attacking areas for once.
Pogba and Ibrahimovic, neither of them were spectacular in that game, except in moments of kind of like breathtakingly spectacular. The vertical splits to pull the ball down on a back heel and somehow manage to pass it into a really dangerous area in the first 3 minutes of the game from Ibrahimovic. I mean, without hyperbole, one of the most extraordinary things I've ever seen on a football pitch.
And he does that all the time. And there was the bit where he pulled the ball out of the air and tried to backheel it in. I guess he was offside as well as missing.
Yes.
With his backheel from 2 yards out. Spectacular. So a couple of great shots from Pogba. lame effort from a free kick, but a great long-range effort that only just went over as well.
Yeah.
And then the curling effort I just mentioned from the move with Rashford and Shaw.
Yeah.
And, probably quieter than last week, Pogba.
Yeah, but still really just a much better midfielder than we've had since Roy Keane left.
Yeah, undoubtedly, and celebrated hard when United scored the winner, didn't he?
Yes. By the way, that I wanted to just put I don't need the messages about Paul Scholes. I'm talking about kind of complete all-round midfielder that does everything, which obviously Scholes wasn't.
No, Scholes not famed for his defensive work.
No, absolutely not. Talking of defensive work, we would be remiss were we not to mention another Man of the Match award for Eric Bailly. He didn't get the Man of the Match on the telly, that was Curtis Davis, and probably well deserved. But Eric Bailly gets the Man of the Match on United's Twitter thing, and from a United perspective, you can't really argue against that. Just a superb all-round performance. I was keeping a log of everything that Blind and Bailly did because I'm going to write some sort of fairly detailed piece about them tomorrow. But I think he made 2 mistakes all game, and they both came within a 1-minute period where there was a little rash moment where he stepped out and he got his distribution wrong. And that led to a period of high pressure. And then there was a corner immediately after that, which he then his distribution went wrong again. Mm-hmm. But his overall performance and his relationship with Blint and what he's bringing out in Blint and how well Blint is playing with the cover he's receiving from Fellaini in the air, you wouldn't break up that centre-back partnership, would you?
Well, I still think the more natural partnership is Smalling and Bailly. Smalling's just a better defender than Blint. Blint is for the moment, he looks superb in games like this where he's not under any pressure at all. And during periods of last season when he was under pressure, he looked very good as well. His reading of the game was superb. His distribution is obviously brilliant. He joined the attack late in the game. The partnership seems to work very well. So for the moment, it looks right. We'll see, because there'll be games when United will be under a lot more pressure. Where Fellaini will become a liability in possession in a defensive area, and it will allow players to run past him, and Blint will be under pressure. There's no doubt about that. I mean, Fellaini is not suddenly going to become the most dynamic player on the pitch. The players will run past him, and they will, and then Blint will have to show in one-on-one situations that he's better than he has been. And I haven't got a lot of faith that that'll happen. But distribution on the ball, reading the game, brilliant from Blint.
It's going to be interesting to see how many good games in a row it would take for the sort of... It feels almost like there's... it would be really hard for him to shift that perspective that you have of him, that his...
Are you saying I've got some kind of agenda?
No, not an agenda, just that your mind is fairly firmly made up, that his limitations will always mean there's a limit to how good he can be in that position.
Well... But that's true,
That's fine. That's a reasonable perspective to hold. To me, like you said, he can definitely be excellent in games like today, and he was absolutely excellent today. And he's extremely good when he's under pressure in one-on-ones because of how smart he is at managing strikers' positioning. The problems... Blint's worst games last season didn't come from physical limitations. Blint's worst moments last season came from massive lapses in judgment, which, is ironic given that that's his greatest strength. But if you look at all the games where he played really badly, it was when his kind of composure went and his confidence or something went, and he just stopped doing the thing he does where he reads the game well. And then everything, kind of all his limitations become really obvious. Bailly's limitations seem less obvious. The one thing that I've definitely noticed, though, is that neither of the centre-backs almost ever attempted any elaborate passes. Mourinho clearly wants, as soon as they were getting over the centre circle, they're looking around and trying to pick a pass and then just knocking it to the nearest midfielder, or Rooney dropping deep, or Mata, or, like time and time and time again, when they got the ball over the halfway line, they played the simplest possible pass, and it really does look like they're under instructions to do that.
Yeah, Blint will play more balls into the channel.
Yeah,
and did play a few. Yeah, I mean, and he's got the quality to do that. And not that he's bad on the ball at all. I mean, he's obviously very composed and his distribution is pretty good. But yeah, I think that's about right. Defenders are supposed to defend in a Mourinho team.
Yeah.
They're less a part of the attacking unit as Van Gaal insists.
Yeah.
Or in fact, Van Gaal insists everyone is part. Attacking unit might not have been the right way of characterising that, because I'm not sure United did a lot of real attacking under Van Gaal, but of the possession unit. In fact, the goalkeeper is supposed to as well. There's an anecdote, I was reading this, was it in Andy Misson's piece? I actually can't remember now, that Van Gaal was seriously considering selling David De Gea because he didn't think his distribution was good enough.
It's a beautiful, beautiful world. Louis van Gaal does not manage Manchester United, and nor does David Moyes. These are good times. And United are good again, and even when they're not that good, they try really, really, really hard to score goals. And then eventually they do, and it's just delightful. That last half an hour of that game was absolutely delightful. Yeah, so just superb.
It was great.
Should we do some Rantcast questions?
Let's do it.
Did you see the time, says Craig, at Craig English 92, Bailly did that very Blint thing of making the striker mistime a header. It was great, like Blint. There are definitely big Blint fans out there. Oh my God, so many Rooney questions. I'm not going to answer any of the Rooney questions because we've sort of talked about him so much. But suffice to say, many of the things that we've talked about have been asked about. At Grey Badger 1261 says, what's the furthest apart you've ever been while recording a pod? Well, I think I've never recorded the pod anywhere exotic. So what's the furthest away from England you've recorded a podcast, Ed?
It'd be either China or about where I am now.
Okay. Seattle's a long way away, isn't it?
It is about 10 hours in a plane away.
Do you have any idea how many miles it is?
I do, yeah. It's 4,690 miles, which I knew off the top of my head.
All right, Beijing is 5,061 miles. So
there you go.
I guess that would have been the furthest.
We may have recorded while I was in Tokyo. I can't actually remember now.
That rings a bell. It definitely rings a bell. And South Africa as well. I think that's nearer.
Tokyo would have been further than Beijing, I think.
All right. It's a long way apart anyway. It's more than 5,000 miles. Too far apart. My favourite was when we were across your kitchen table.
That's more like 5 centimetres.
Yeah. Does Rooney deserve a starting berth?
No.
Is Rooney being left out for political reasons?
Left in?
If Rooney is... left in. If Rooney is the answer, what on earth is the question? It's not just us. It is not just us.
No, it isn't. We had a few comments this week on the blog. Eventually had to be deleted because it got rather abusive. Saying that we have a middle-class Guardian reading, quinoa-eating agenda against the working-class player. Is that true, Paul? Are you against the masses?
I definitely like quinoa a lot. And,
I hate it.
I know I talk in this voice and stuff, but that's not a particularly accurate description of our upbringing, I think it's fair to say, Ed.
Not in the slightest accurate, no.
Anyway, is Mkhitaryan not starting, asks at Econes, because Ree Farrier finds it difficult to spell his name?
Could be true. Just call him Mickey. I have to do that because I keep getting it wrong.
I think about Ree Farrier quite often.
Do you?
Yeah, because...
At night?
No, not at night.
Kleenex moment?
Oh, that's... Well, yes, because it does bring a tear to the eye.
Uh-huh.
I just think about how much José Mourinho must love Rui Faria. And because Mourinho has fallen out with a lot of people in his life. And generally, like, one of the reasons he falls out is kind of issues of trust. This has clearly been a factor in his career. But Rui Faria has been absolutely everywhere that José Mourinho has been. Like, they would definitely take a bullet for each other, those two men. No doubt about it.
Clearly trusts him. does what he needs. And, I guess that's important. You see that a lot with management, don't you? People going from job to job, bringing the same people that they trust. Although, interesting that David Moyes at Sunderland hasn't done that, hasn't chucked everyone out of Sunderland.
Because Sunderland's backroom staff is just too good.
Yeah.
It's too elite.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Also interesting that Mike Phelan is still doing a fine job at Hull City. I actually thought, we talked all about United today, but given Hull's situation, I thought they were great.
Absolutely.
They did exactly what they needed to do. They were super, super, super organised. It took one moment with Myler being beaten by Rooney, call it Rooney's class, or Myler just obviously shattered to change the game. And it was one of the very few moments that United ever got around the back of Hull. Hardly. A lot of chances created, 29 chances created by United, but almost all in front of Hull. One of the few occasions got right around the back of them and United scored. Apart from that, just brilliant organisation. It's still going to take something for Hull to stay up, and it looks like a bid has been accepted, and there's Chinese investors coming in. I don't know whether they'll be able to buy any players before the window closes, but Mourinho said it this week, Mike Phelan deserves a job. I think they're right. I think he's right.
Yeah, absolutely. And if he doesn't get this job, it's going to be a smart club that gives him a job by the looks of things. At Bama_fan13 says, Wesley Jordan says, Rashford and Mkhitaryan showed enough to be given a starting spot. Agree or disagree? I definitely agree, and I think the balance of the team would look great with those two in. But I think you have to leave out at least one very good player if you do that.
Or Rooney. Sorry. Hashtag agenda.
There's two players there. That's why I said you have to leave out at least one really good player.
True.
At Heinlein, on a more serious note, says, did you hear about the earthquake in Myanmar? We have many United fans here, and there's, of course, nothing we can say about that situation. But, just love to everybody that's, struggling and our thoughts definitely with you guys for whatever that is worth. At Dunk Palmer, to pivot quickly back to football, Bailly, very solid, but has he got a fair few rash errors in him? I seriously think he only made 2 mistakes in that whole game, but there will be more.
Yeah, and both distribution rather than defensive, really. There will be more, but actually, there haven't been a lot, have there? When I think of Rio Ferdinand at age 22, he made quite a few errors, and he had that problem where he'd kind of switch off in games. I don't see that from Bailly. I think he's got all the tools to be a really, really good Premier League defender.
We've kind of answered this one. As there United for Life one says, is there any way in for Smalling given how brilliant the partnership has been? I say no. Ed says yes. I think that's where we stand on that one.
So you think there's no way in for Smalling?
It's not that I think there's no way in at all ever. I just think I would not break up this partnership because Smalling was fit again. No way.
Well, he's fit now, but
yeah, right. So I would continue to stick with this partnership rather than replacing Blint with Smalling. Yeah, definitely. Is Marcus Rashford worth at least £89 million? Asks at Cryptic Android. We had a few questions on similar lines. At the Stretty Ender saying Marcus Rashford is love, Marcus Rashford is life. Agree with all of that. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what you would sell Rashford for in the summer 2016 transfer market, but he's a huge number.
Yes, it is. Although it might be a lot less if he doesn't play very often this season. Either way, he signed a new contract last season, didn't he? So he's in it for the long term.
At Alex_Riesel, friend of the show, says, United are back, right? Last minute goal. Get in, you beauty. I think that was written pretty quickly after the goal. But yes, this is absolutely... You can't argue, really, can you, that United are a completely different force in the Premier League this season?
Yeah, although I seem to remember United winning a game with a last minute goal. Winning a game or drawing? I can't... You know what? This is how much of the Van Gaal era I've tried to blank out of my mind. When they scored late at Watford and Schweinsteiger scored.
Yeah, that was to win 2-1. And also...
2-1, yeah. So were we praising United's never say die attitude then? Might have been, but clearly wrong, wasn't it?
Blint scored a late equaliser at the Hawthorns in Van Gaal's first season. And, of course, Martial with the winner in the semi-final of the FA Cup. So, actually, that was definitely something which cropped up occasionally during the Van Gaal era. This is a good one. At AP the Middleman. This is a testing one. I'll go first because you haven't had any time to think. Predict the starting lineup of the first Europa League game. That's a great question. I wonder whether he'll go full Sergio Romero. You never go full Sergio Romero.
Yeah, I know. It's like one of those rules you have in the army or something. There's things you just don't do.
De Gea, Damian, Smalling, Jones, Rojo, or Fosu Mensah maybe for one of them.
Yeah. I mean, I think the wider question is, like, how fringe does he go? Is it full fringe or is it a mixture of players he feels are fresh enough and a few fringe players in, or is it full strength? I mean, I don't think anyone thinks it's going to be that.
No, so the draw has happened, hasn't it? And
it has.
We haven't talked about that at all. So because it's the Europa League draw and literally nobody cares. Some people care.
I think Sevilla cared. Liverpool cared.
West Ham cared. But they didn't care enough, did they? Oh, yeah, I remember what happened in the draw. It's very cool because we got Robin Van Persie in the draw.
We do. So United play Feyenoord first. United do play Feyenoord first. Then they play Fenerbahce.
Robin Van Persie doesn't play for them as well.
He doesn't play for them. Then
anymore.
We play Fenerbahce and Robin Van Persie does play for them. And then United play some Ukrainian side that literally no one has ever heard of in England. Let's just admit it.
That's the second game. So it goes Feyenoord away, Zorya, someone Ukrainian at home. This just says Zorya on this screen. Zorya, I mean, listen, it definitely sounds like some sort of sci-fi warrior. We talked about No Man's Sky on the Patreon stuff last week. It could definitely be a planet in No Man's Sky before you rename it, couldn't it? And then Fenerbahce at home. That's how the first round of fixtures go. I think he's going to go full fringe because it just doesn't seem like not full crazy fringe, but I think you could see 8 players in that team that aren't getting into the first team.
Yeah, and we'll see as I think it's one of those, personal opinion, I think that would be right. See where it goes. United should be able to walk this group. I know Mourinho talked up the quality, but this is not a great Fenerbahce side and it's not a great Feyenoord side. And like Mourinho, I don't have much of a vision of the Ukrainian side, quote unquote, having not watched them. Although loads of their game highlights are on YouTube. I did check this out. If you're into the Ukrainian league, go for it. I think they'd be right to play a lot of French players and you just see how far United go. And quarterfinal, semi-final, final, then you can start playing greater strength. And they're going to need it as well because the schedule is really compressed in some cases, given that they'll come back late. So it's on the 15th of September, they'll come back late, so they'll get 16th to kind of warm down, won't be a proper training session. They'll have a full training session on the 17th and then they play on the 18th, right?
At midday.
So there's very, very little time and there are a few fixtures that are compressed and some long flights as well,
And then midday kickoff against Stoke after the home game against Zorya, so that's not as serious. We played Chelsea 3 days after playing Fenerbahce, but that's Fenerbahce at home. And then it starts to get into TBD. So we'll see what happens. It's weird, the Robin Van Persie factor. The fact that Feyenoord, Man United and Fenerbahce are all in the same... He's played for 4 teams ever, I think, and that's 3 of them. That's pretty extraordinary. Did he play for PSV? No, he didn't, did he? So that's pretty remarkable that 3 of his teams are in there. It will be great to get him a proper Old Trafford send-off because he never got one. I'm sure he'll get a fantastic... I'm sure Robin Van Persie will be ringing out.
No doubt. 58 goals, 105 games for United. That one really great season. Custis this week was saying, Robin had 6 months. Fat man. Jesus. Not Robin. He's not. He's very slim still.
And talking of Robin van Persie, we've got something really exciting now. I for a long time, I've followed a chap on Twitter called Danny Carbassian, and Danny played for Arsenal. He's an American guy, and he came across and played for Arsenal's youth team. Broke into the first team briefly, and was sent out on loan, and then got a really serious injury at the age of 22, and then became a scout for Arsenal. And he's got a new book out. Now, even though, obviously, this is a Manchester United podcast, first of all, I thought the book might well be of general interest to people who are interested in the kind of mechanics of football work, how football works and what it's like to be a scout. But also, I just think Danny's sound, and there's a bunch of United connections to his career, as you can hear now, because I had a chat with him this morning. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Danny Carbassian. Danny, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, Paul. Appreciate it.
So I'm really excited about reading your book. Can you give us a bit of a background on it and what led to it happening now?
Yeah, of course. I moved to England when I was 18 years old and signed for Arsenal, I guess during a pretty special time during the Invincibles. So it's a bit of a...
Did lose a few times that season. That's
yeah, a bit of a double-edged sword, I suppose, just because of how amazing the team was. But in terms of personal growth and everything, it was tough to break into that team. But yeah, I grew up in the States and moved over, played at Arsenal for 2 years, went on loan to Ipswich, went to Burnley for another year and a half. Ended up hurting my knee. And getting told by Dr. Bolton that I basically need to retire at 22. So I moved back home and became, Arsenal ended up hiring me as a scout, and I did that full time for about 8 years from 22 on. But the reason I started writing the book was because when I did move to the UK, I realized I knew very little about kind of not only the culture in England, but the football culture, what it meant to be a professional footballer, kind of what the demands were, what the stresses were. And I know a lot of people laugh at this, but just the mental stress every week of knowing that it's essentially a tryout. Even in the reserves at Arsenal, there was about a pool of 30 guys, fighting for 16 to 18 spots every week, and just making the team, making the bench at that point was a big success in my eyes, and finally make it onto the pitch in my, at the end of my first year and getting to train with the first team, all this stuff. I wanted essentially to not only educate Americans, and since the book's been out, actually, I've gotten a lot of great feedback, even from diehard English football fans who grew up a stone's throw from Highbury or grew up with kids actually in academies around England as well. And but I wanted to kind of explain a bit more as to what the process was to actually getting to be on the pitch, on a Saturday in front of millions of people. The end game, essentially, just the highs and lows and everything that went into it, essentially.
It's an amazing story. At United, there's a kind of combination of myth and truth around how important it is for the club to bring through players from its academy into the first team. How much of a priority was that for Arsene Wenger in your day there? Yeah,
it was. It was very important. I think you could see it, especially with Cesc. He signed the same year I did as well, and when Vieira, I believe, got injured, I think into our second year at the club, and Cesc had already, I think at 16, had already made his debut in the Carling Cup. The year prior, he was training with the first team every so often as well, and then when he got injured, I think at the end of our first season when Vieira got injured, Cesc got to play in the Community Shield actually against United that year. He had the infamous dreadlock mullet thing going on in that game, and you could see straight away that the boss had a lot of faith in him. Similar with Clichy, Clichy was very young. He signed the same year I came as well. I came as a striker and ended up playing as a left back, and I always laugh because I was essentially third in the pecking order behind Ashley Cole and Clichy was a year younger than me and miles better than me. So, but yeah, you could see straight away that his philosophy was essentially if you're good enough, you're old enough, and when he'd throw players in, getting the trust of the boss to not only just make the squad on a match day, but then throwing you in to represent Arsenal Football Club on a match day was, he doesn't just do it for everybody. And those kids, went on to impress enough to retain their spots in the team over an extended period of time, playing some big games and whatnot. So, it was good. Like you felt like, you felt that if you did well enough, you certainly would have a chance. It didn't help that, in the league, in my first season, I didn't see Arsenal lose well into my second season as well. Once again, United ending that streak. So
I think I have vague memories of that game.
This podcast is actually very relevant now. I'm beginning to wonder why you brought me on. It was, you definitely got your chances. I mean, I got my chances actually in the Carling Cup, but even if it was a very small taste, it was still a wonderful, experience to represent Arsenal at that level. Actually, Robin van Persie and I actually made our debuts, our official debuts for Arsenal, in the same game against Manchester City, away. Another thing I laugh at is that we both actually ended up scoring that night, our first goals for Arsenal, and then he went on to score, several more goals than I did. So,
So what was Van Persie like as a kid?
Yeah, he was good. It was interesting. I mean, this is one of I think I was going back to the book as well. Like I was very aware and cognizant of everything that was going around me, I think, as a kid, when I was there, and seeing, like, Robin's a year older than me, but he was bought, he was a player that had remarkable expectations that I think he lived up to, during his career. And seeing a kid like that coming in and getting involved with the first team straight away, and, bringing kind of this bad boy attitude that he had in Holland, and, seeing what it was like culturally for him to get integrated into a team where, he's coming in as a striker. I was a striker as well, but he's, really in the mix to be competing with guys like Henry, Bergkamp. I mean, he was touted as the next Bergkamp. And just seeing how he carried himself, it was interesting. I think he had a couple of, I would say, I don't want to say disciplinary problems before, but I think he had to get knocked down a couple, pegs, out of the gate, and let everybody know basically that, he'd have to work very, very hard to earn his spot. And, I'd like to think that he did. But yeah, it was interesting. I mean, he wowed. I remember the first day in training where I was training with the first team, and he was there as well. After training, it was generally commonplace for everybody kind of sit around and just take shots on the keepers, and Robin kind of just set up some balls and was whipping free kicks into the top corner, and Henry and Wiltord were kind of sat back a bit, and Wiltord was grabbing Thierry, basically saying like, "Uh-oh, looks like you got some competition," and Henry didn't look very pleased about it. But it was good. I mean, as I said, he went on to and continues to have a great career. So he's certainly a very good player.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he was absolutely beloved when he came to United and did what he did. Was that a move that you could understand at the time? I mean, because obviously you're an Arsenal fan, and United were massive rivals during your time at Arsenal, and that's something I'll come on to. But could you understand why he made that move?
I mean, it's hard. Like I never. Yeah, I mean, as you said, rather, I am an Arsenal fan, so it's definitely a hard pill to swallow. Things clearly worked out for him in the end. There, he went and got the title that he wanted. So, I mean, do I understand? It's hard, I guess. He spent a lot of time at Arsenal. I mean, he was there, well after I left. He came just about around the time that I was there, and I saw him as an Arsenal guy. So I think it was definitely a strange one for me to see him go. But careers take different paths, and there's always different decisions the players have to make when keeping their careers in mind. So I can't hate him for it, I suppose.
That is very magnanimous, Danny.
Yeah, as you were asking the question, I was like, oh boy, here we go.
I could feel it. So what was your perception of the United-Arsenal rivalry?
Yeah, I mean, it was an incredible time, especially when I was there. I think the Keane Vieira rivalry, I don't think anybody even needs to talk about how amazing it was. And both teams at the time were just, they were both just flying. And every single time they played, it just seemed like, everything would kick off. There was always stuff going on off the ball. There was always incidents that would happen. It was just never a game of football. And it brought a lot of spice to every single fixture. I think, having, Jose Antonio Reyes comes and Gary Neville just kicks the crap out of him basically every time they play. like things like that, the Ruud van Nistelrooy, subplot, Martin Keown, and all these things. I think they all made, it made for remarkably entertaining football, because at the end of the day, it was just generally 22 very, very high level footballers, plying their trade on any given day, plus this added intensity and pressure of a bunch of competitors and winners, trying to top one another. So it was an amazing rivalry then. It continues to be an amazing rivalry, but I think at the time it was at its peak. And I was the third and final game that I got to play in the first team actually was at Old Trafford, and I came on in the last, I think 10 minutes of the game, or 10 or 20 minutes of the game. And I still, despite us losing, I still count that as one of my most memorable, experiences in football, just because, getting the chance to play at Old Trafford, especially, for Arsenal at the time, but in such an amazing atmosphere and such a big game. I think it was a very unique time, I think.
So what were your impressions of the place? What was it like standing on the touchline, getting ready to come on for Arsenal against Man United at Old Trafford?
Well, there was I think 70,000 of you lot screaming, "Who the F are you?" So that was nice. I thought having scored at City, I would have won you guys over a little bit, knocked them out, but that was clearly not the case. It was. I grew up in the States, basically. I played football my whole life, obviously, but I was just obsessed with stadiums around the world, obsessed with every school project evolved around football. I'd make collages, and those were always my projects for school. Whatever in school, whatever project I was assigned, it essentially always had a theme around football, whatever I turned in. And I'd done an incredible amount of research on Old Trafford, growing up. And when we drew you guys, and each, in the week building up, or the week and a half building up to the game, they kept announcing, 20,000 tickets have been sold, 30,000 tickets, 50,000, 60,000. And then they announced that it was a sellout. I think it was just an amazing kind of setup for the whole day and everything. And getting there, getting to the dressing room, I was actually stunned. I should have known better, but I was stunned at how kind of small and cramped the dressing room was, the visitors' dressing room. And it was, obviously it was just red, which was just very, it was our color as well, but it was just very uncomfortable in there, kind of, and I was like, wow, they've done well here. And I remember just walking out and thinking, wow, this place is pretty massive. And then when the game started, obviously, because the tunnel was in the corner, walking along the touchline, and then sitting down and hearing your crowd sing was, it was very loud. It was, I was happy kind of just looking around, soaking it all in, basically, not only just actually being involved as a footballer, in the fixture, but seeing how everything kind of unfolded. And David Bellion scored after about 30 seconds, I think, actually. So it didn't really take long for me to hear you guys go into full voice. So that was great too, I suppose, for you guys.
Also definitely really sets it in a time and place if David Bellion scored.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So what was your perception of Ferguson? Did you hear Wenger talk about him? Was it something that the players talked about, that rivalry?
Not really. Everything that I'd heard and learned and I guess formed an opinion on regarding Ferguson was all out of the press, basically. None of the. Obviously these guys are very very professional. Managers are very professional. Arsene Wenger would never be walking around the training ground spouting off about Sir Alex Ferguson.
We all like to picture that's what happens.
Exactly. Everybody's just screaming about the other managers. No, he's. As I said, everything that I got from Sir Alex was basically from the kind of from the press, and when you're playing for a club and you're a fan of that club, you clearly take sides. So I think I understand how. I'm on Twitter and I see the reactions of people when different managers say different things and how much people defend their own managers and everything. So I understand it all. But everything, my perception of Sir Alex is basically what I think a lot of people's is. It's just based off of what you see in the press.
Well, thank you very much for talking to us. It is much appreciated. And where can people get your book? What we should give it the proper plug. What's the full title?
Yeah, so it's called The Arsenal Yankee. There's a foreword by Arsene Wenger, which I'm sure all you United fans would love to read.
Listen, there are some people listening to this that are just interested in football stuff generally.
Fair enough. This is directed to you guys. And it's if you go to thearsenalyankee.com, you can get it in the States or across the world as well. It's on Amazon and on Kindle as well. So yeah, go to thearsenalyankee.com. I really appreciate it, man.
Fantastic. Thanks, Danny.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
I really liked all the stuff on Van Persie in particular. His kind of swaggering attitude and having to be taken down a peg or two early. And you can certainly recognise that from early Robin Van Persie, can't you?
Yeah, it's good. Football anecdotes from players who've actually played the game are always the most fascinating thing to fans, aren't they? Because we just don't often get that inside look.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Massive thanks to Danny. And as he said, I think it's the Arsenal Yankee. That's the website and the name of the book. And if Danny's kind of the way he talks about the game and like his general presence on Twitter and stuff is anything to go by, I think that book's going to be a terrific read. And I'm definitely going to pick up a copy. So anyway, I guess should we take a few more Twitter questions, given that we haven't got a game to preview?
Let's do that, and then a little chat about the international break.
Okay, good. At Beware of the Pog says, back to the Hull game, at any point in that game did you think it was going to end 0-0? Honestly, it was not until the 85th minute that I started to think it.
No, I thought United they just kept knocking on the door. Just kept going. It just felt like it was coming.
At Gary_1105 says, when will Ed finally admit that Blint is good at centre-back? We got kind of half of that today.
Look, it's not, one of the more irritating things about having an opinion in the Twitter sphere or, internet sphere is that people think it's always binary. It's not binary. My observation about Blint is, about his weaknesses, and that for me means he won't be the perfect centre back. It doesn't mean I don't recognise when he plays well. It's the same with Rooney, and people who say there's an agenda, whether it's social or otherwise, are talking bollocks. It's not an agenda, it's an observation about the guy's quality. And it's the same with Blint, So if Blint suddenly gets about 5 yards quicker and grows a couple of inches and stops making those positional mistakes, then clearly I make a different opinion about him.
You just said he has to miraculously get taller, Ed, for you to have a different opinion about him.
Well, maybe he could, stretch his hamstrings a little bit or something. It's not like his height is not the biggest problem. He doesn't often face players who will physically dominate him in the air, and very rarely has that happened. His positional sense, especially at set pieces, is a problem, definitely. And when he's under pressure from multiple players coming at multiple angles, then he has a problem as well because of his lack of recovery speed.
Partnering him with Bailly really helps with that.
Yeah, it does.
Particular thing.
It does. I'd love to be proved wrong, but I do not think that we will be lauding in years to come Blint Bailly as the best centre-back partnership ever. Too many weaknesses.
Seems fair enough. At Little Chimpy says, is it cool that I'm starting to love Fellaini? Yes. Loving people is always cool. What's interesting about this is exactly what Mourinho wants. Mourinho definitely wants you, at Little Chimpy, to start loving Mauro and Fellaini, because he's been extremely clear that one of the things he wants is for the fans to change their feelings about Fellaini. And I've always sort of loved him, apart from the elbows.
Have you?
Yeah. As a sort of, I don't know, like the elbows thing really annoys me, and the sort of snidey, cowardy bit really annoys me. But I think he's like a nice chap generally in his real life, apparently, so it seems. And he's got a kind of endearing quality, and I very much like his hair. At Ugal Subedi says, would Rashford be a good intern at Cramerica Industries? I think that Rashford is just good at everything he does. So I'm going to say yes, although I think he'd be a bit wasted, because you wonder whether Kramer would keep him on the bench a little bit too long, or would he have the sense to put him straight in the first team? I don't know. We'll see. Who would win a battle to the death for the captaincy, asks Alec Hudson.
Of the United players fighting, who's the hardest in the United squad right now? Well, I'm not actually sure.
Zlatan.
I guess it's Zlatan, isn't it? I mean, Fellaini,
it's Zlatan.
Fellaini would not do too badly there. He's a big unit. He's not very mobile.
I think if Zlatan and Fellaini had a serious fight, I think there'd only be one winner. And I think it'd be Zlatan. There was a moment where one of the Hull players ran into... literally injured. It's not funny. He looked like he'd actually injured himself and might have to go off because he ran into Zlatan. It's like a living Chuck Norris meme. Zlatan Ibrahimovic is. At Ducknans says, have you calmed down yet? Yes. From the goal, I've just about calmed down. Although now that I think about it again, I'm kind of happy, all happy again. At Hez133 says, how the heck does he keep doing it? Every game he has one key contribution. Is Rooney the new nanny?
Oh, man. Ouch.
A question literally no one ever thought would ever be asked. All right, I think that'll do, won't it, for Twitter questions? That's plenty, and all the rest are about Rooney.
Yeah, you see, that's the thing. We'd love to start talking about it, but you guys listening actually want us to talk about it.
Oh, no, I don't ever want to talk about him again.
So it's the international break, and a bunch of United players are going to go off and play pointless international football. Because it is pointless. England play Slovakia away from home in a group that they absolutely must walk. I mean, you know, there's not a lot of quality there. Even Sam Allardyce, with his long ball tactics, could get England to Russia in 2018.
Sure, yeah.
I should call him Paul's Sam Allardyce from now on, since you were his biggest cheerleader.
I was. It's just right. He is the manager England deserve. Yeah, I like international tournaments so much, and it almost feels like it feels like cheating, because I really love them. Like, they are among my favourite football experiences, as we say on this show every 2 years when we do summer pods. But the problem is, I am not willing to put in the hard yards. I'm absolutely not prepared to do the graft. International football happens for one summer every 2 years, and everything in between is just hoping people don't get injured.
Yeah, very true.
Like, I think it's fair to say, Ed, that you're probably a bigger football fan than I am. Will you be watching any of these matches? Will you go out of your way to watch some of the international break?
I probably won't go out of my way, but I may scan some games online, stream them and stuff like that. There's a few interesting games coming up. Italy play France this week. I think that's a friendly, it is a friendly. Belgium play Spain. I'm kind of looking forward to that one. Belgium, who have swung between two absolutely massively polar extremes in Mark Wilmots to Roberto Martinez as managers. A manager who only thought about defence to a manager who only thinks about attack, who has, quite bizarrely, appointed Thierry Henry as his assistant.
I did not know that happened.
You didn't know this?
Oh, the world is so strange.
It is.
Football is beautiful again.
I wonder what the Belgian squad think of this. I mean, in one sense they'll be liberated, but, and it's a big but, it's Roberto Martinez.
And Thierry Henry, the Martinez-Henry dream team. I can imagine Roberto Martinez is sitting there going, right, what are the things that I need help with as a manager? Forget about them. I'm just going to bring Thierry in. Look at him with his lovely cool face. I want more Vavavoom. I don't care about defending. He could really do with bringing Jaap Stam, rescuing Jaap Stam from Reading and having a bit more of a defensive structural assistant.
He certainly could. Any games you're looking forward to?
Apart from watching Côte d'Ivoire against Sierra Leone to hope that Eric Bailly doesn't get injured, because I've started to believe that our entire fate rests on him. No, I'll probably have a weekend off football, I reckon.
Argentina play Uruguay. That could be interesting.
Yeah.
Brazil go to Ecuador. So Tony V versus the new the Olympic champions.
Yeah. That was good. All right.
Uzbekistan play Syria. That has some, interest for both political and
Talking
football.
of that, like United's Europa League group features Turkey and Ukraine, thus making it reasonably geopolitically complicated at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, so Zorya were not playing at home for a long time because they're in the Donbass area of Ukraine. So I think they may have returned home though. So I don't think United will end up in Kiev.
Right.
I think that's been played. I haven't checked this one out. But I think they're back playing home now. So United have the sort of 4 hours out to Ukraine there. But yeah, you're right. There's some geopolitical interest in that one. Who else? We've got Kazakhstan playing Poland.
Shout out to massive friend of the Rantcast, at Anton Alfie.
Yeah. In the Battle of the Minnows, we've got Malta v Scotland. Sorry, Malta.
Kind of interesting, actually, with the sale of McNair and some of the other changes that have happened. This is the first time for a very, very long time, 80 years, I think, that United don't have an Irish player or an Irish or Scottish person in the academy teams, the first team playing squad, or the first team staff. That's a very old lineage that's kind of been broken, which is a sort of interesting cultural thing. Miguel Delaney wrote a really interesting piece about the Irish side of that, which is worth a read, that's kind of talks about the problems with Irish football structural development, rather than saying, oh yeah, Man United are just bad and evil now, which tends to be the take on some of these things.
Yeah, well, we are an evil megacorp, but we're now an evil megacorp that are quite good again.
Yes.
It's amazing how quickly the kind of arrogance comes back, isn't it?
It's brilliant. It's like it's never been away.
Just natural.
Yeah.
Just better.
Not arrogant, just Pogba.
Very good. Yeah, I mean, I will watch some of the international football just because it's different and there's some football on, but I suspect, given the time zones and all that, I won't be watching an awful lot of it. Mainly, I'll just be waiting for United to come back for the derby. I guess we'll preview that game next week. It is kind of a shame, isn't it? Always have this international break early in the season, just when we feel like there's some momentum.
Yeah, and every year, without fail, somebody could definitely cut together a supercut of us saying that every year at this time of year, because it is the worst international break. Because now, really, the Premier League season is 3 games old, and it really does feel like it's starting to get up and running, and it's exciting. The fact that there's not a United game now till the derby, and the derby's kind of a scary fixture at this point, because it could basically decide the title.
bit early for that, but yes, absolutely it could. City win by a point and we've lost, then yeah, clearly. I was just looking at the Oceanic fixtures. No round in this international break. Disappointing, because I'm always looking forward to American Samoa or the Cook Islands, or perhaps a bit of New Caledonian football.
Have you watched that documentary about American Samoan football team yet?
Yeah,
so good.
Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. I mean, it's kind of fascinating region for football now that Australia in Asia, because it actually opens it out for other teams. Australian so dominant, and then ended up playing the 18th best side in South America and losing for so many years. But now there's some competition in the region, not high quality, but yeah, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, I think we can safely call that a Rantcast, can't we? I hope you enjoyed the interview with Danny, and I hope you just enjoyed the show generally. We're going to do about, we've been doing like 15 minutes. We keep saying it's 10 minutes, but it's not been 10 minutes once. Do a bit of bonus content for Patreon backers. If you're interested in getting a bit more of the show, it won't be United-related stuff. You can check out patreon.com/Rantcast to look at our crowdfunding stuff. And as always, a huge thanks to everyone that's backed the show.
Yeah, thank you very much, and we'll see you for probably a slightly shorter show next week, when we'll be talking about the derby and the Europa League. Good stuff.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Comfort is often the first thing we're willing to give up. Like taking a long flight for a vacation or waking up early for a workout. But don't let style be the reason you aren't comfy. Mack Weldon's Ace Collection makes it effortless to look put together while feeling truly comfortable. Inspired by their best-selling sweatpants, the Ace collection combines everyday comfort with long-lasting and confident looks. Upgrade your collection for the new year with bomber jackets, half-zips, sweats, crew necks, and much more. Get comfortable anywhere with Mack Weldon's Ace collection. Go to MackWeldon.com and get 20% off your first order of $125 or more with promo code MACK25. That's MackWeldon.com. Promo code MACK25.